Well, hi everybody again, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. I'm Craig Hamilton Parker, your host. I'm a psychic medium, and I'm going to talk today about Elon Musk and and Donald Trump, the big fallout, which I predicted on this channel back in 2024. And we'll talk about that today. We look at things here. If you're here for the first time, we look at things from a perspective of a psychic medium with a spiritual sort of eye to these things, and some thoughts about how things will progress and what will happen. So, welcome to Coffee with Craig. Well, as usual, just as I say every time, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe. You will love this channel. And if you're here multi times, you do love this channel, I hope. So click that like button, because it makes a big difference to the algorithm and so on, and helps these ideas get out there. Well, today we see in the news that there's been a huge fallout between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And I did see it coming, didn't I? Let's just review the clips first. Here's a couple of the clips of what I said. Now, this would be back in 2024 in December. And thank you, all of you who've been emailing me about this and putting comments on the other YouTubes about this. I did spot it, but it was one of my big predictions for 2025, made in, I think it was made in November, I think, November of 2024. I feel that Musk and Trump ultimately fall out. So I predict that they'll have a major fallout in the end. Now, in the images I had for this, I had a strange image for this again, and this is how I've interpreted it, that they fall out. What I saw in the image when I was tuning into this, and I can't quite understand what's going on here, so I'm going to share it with you just in case there's anything unusual in this that might pop up in the future. I saw Musk tied up. I saw it like, if you know the tarot cards, you'll know that there's the image of the hanged man, which is a man hanged on the tree by one leg, and he's got a light round his head. So he's kind of in a position where he can't move, but the enlightenment is still there. Now, so I was tuning in, particularly trying to connect to the idea of Musk and what would happen with him. And I saw him like the image of the man in the hanged man. He was tied up. And so I interpret this as a feeling of the idea, I'm restrained. I can't do what I want to do. He's so independent. He's a person that, doesn't like to take orders from anybody, including from Trump. So I think there's going to be a bit of a conflict there. Just lost my screen for a second there. The Epstein files are going to be revealed, and I have spoken about that before, and I've got a full video out there, but it's going to reveal, I feel there's political stuff in there. Okay, we've got, I think Harry and Meghan are going to be tied up in this controversy as well. But there's going to be some revelations about people in politics that are very much being involved with that whole business. And they've been kept, because now the government change, I think they can't be protected in quite the same way they were over the last period. So there's going to be some real big stuff coming out of that again. And I feel that whole thing about corruption, there's going to be more too. Epstein was one, but I'm seeing something else coming. I'm seeing another big reveals about corruption in Hollywood, bigger again even than that one. There's something else coming that's going to be absolutely scandalous. Well, okay, perhaps I saw it coming, but there's another thing with this, first of all, because Elon Musk has often said, and what has said, he said it in a Saturday Night Live appearance back in 2021, that he's on the Asperger's spectrum, as it were. He's got a form of what I think would be called more like a high functioning autism. And some journalists have suggested that even Trump could be on that spectrum, but that's not been definitely proven by any means whatsoever. There's been no formal diagnosis of that. But particularly with Musk, we can see with him that he seems to have some of the issues that come with that. Now, I've looked into autism quite a lot because my grandson's autistic, and autistic people, and you can see it particularly in children, autistic people are often very, very clever. They can be geniuses at some things, but also find it very, very difficult with other social interactions. Some of the great geniuses that they think may be autistic would have been Albert Einstein. He seemed to show signs of that. Isaac Newton was. Nikola Tesla, of course, is also another one, and even Charles Darwin are thought to be have been on the spectrum with these things. In fact, many scientists often are autistic because they have a kind of a blinkered way of doing things. They have an energy to their focus that most people can't keep up with. For example, Musk would sleep under the desk when he was developing his various businesses and his industries that he developed. Most people would find it very, very hard to keep up with him. Also, it's been speculated that Mark Zuckerberg and also Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Craig Newmark are all great industrial leaders have been possibly on the spectrum with these things, because it takes a tenacity that us normal people, well, not, it's not normal or this normal, but us ordinary people find it hard to keep up with. In fact, I think in many cases it gives them an edge over the common man, as it were, because they have a focus. But with it comes also difficulties for them sometimes, particularly being socially awkward, and sometimes they struggle with interpreting people's feelings because their brains are wired in a different way to us, and it makes sometimes being able to understand, that some of the things you say might not be the right thing to say, and they find it hard to read what people are thinking. And I think we're seeing some of that coming out now, because I think the way somebody described it to me is an autistic person has a different type of, we can say, internal dialogue to some people. Most of us have one internal dialogue running. We're thinking about a line of thoughts, and we're following that line of thoughts. But in an autistic person, often they'll have not just one or two, they might have multiple, 5 streams of thoughts all running simultaneously to each other. So their brains are trying to keep up with this constant internal dialogue that's pushing them forward, forward, forward. So it's really, really important for them to hold the direction, as it were, of their thoughts. They find it very hard. They get fixed because they've got so much going on in their mind. They find it very hard to meditate, for example. They find it very hard to sort of sit back from their thoughts and watch their thoughts. They're very tied into it. But what happens is sometimes it just gets too much and they reach a sort of a boiling point. And although Elon Musk has said that he's on the autism spectrum, I think what we might be seeing here may be a kind of an intense reaction to some neurodivergent people experience under pressure. What some would call in children a meltdown. These aren't sort of tantrums as such, but they're moments where they're overwhelmed with what's going on in their minds. And what's the best thing to do with these people? Well, I've often found the best thing to do is simply to kind of let them get on with it. I've known adults like this, I've known children like this, and there's no way you can go getting into an argument with them, because it'll get worse and worse and worse and worse until it becomes explosive. So the best thing to do, step back for a while, let them calm down, let them cool off, right? And I think what you'll see with this is gradually Musk will cool off from this and start to rethink with things and maybe not push it any further, because if you push this to escalation, it's difficult for that type of person. They need time now to recalibrate, as it were, and that's part of the whole autistic brain process. Now, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not, but these are things I've just witnessed from the experience with people that I've known who have had diagnosed conditions with this. So the problem is now that Musk has popped, as it were, and he doesn't like the fact that Trump has cut this, what's called the EV mandate, from his big beautiful bill, or he's cut in his big beautiful bill rather, because what it basically means is America's not gonna prioritize electric vehicles over everything else, which is a big bad deal for Tesla. And I don't know what's wrong with Musk, because Trump was pretty clear about it. I mean, he was at rallies where where Trump was actually talking about this. I mean, I watched some of these on TV, and Trump always says the same things often over and over again at these different rallies, and sometimes 2 or 3 times at the same rallies. And it's pretty clear, particularly like drill baby drill, that petrol's coming back and petrol vehicles are coming back. And I don't see how this could have really inflamed Musk quite so much. Perhaps the penny suddenly dropped. Perhaps he was getting a bit of blinkered thinking, and perhaps hypnotized by the idea that we're going to go to Mars, and hypnotized by the idea of the power and what he could do and things like that. So he went crazy, didn't he? And calls for impeachment of all things. Now, that is extreme behavior. Most people would not suddenly start calling, for impeachment just because of one issue, one main issue. I'm sure there's other ones that are upsetting him as well. But Trump and Musk are both people who used to being in charge, aren't they? I mean, you can't have 2 chiefs. It was incredible that they did work together for so long, really. But they're both used to being able to tell everybody what to do, and they don't like being told what to do. This is another autism sort of trait in people very often. But Trump must have listened to Musk a lot too. I mean, I was particularly struck by what he said in South Africa, because I mean, I've been doing readings for people in South Africa. Sometimes it's on the same timeline, as it were, latitude as London. So it's quite easy for people to book me on Zoom for that. And so I've spoken to a number of people in South Africa, and it's actually horrifying what's going on over there. And Trump pulled this into the daylight, as it were. When he had those talks with the South African leader, he made a lot of fuss about that. And that must have been, I thought, Musk must be behind that, because Musk must know what horrible things have been going on in South Africa. Another one of those things you do not hear hardly anything about on the mainstream news. It's Rhodesia all over again. Anyway, I'm going off, but that's one of the another problem, but a positive problem that I think they dealt with together. But also the rare earth metals business. This is another thing. If you look back on my 2025 main prediction there, the big one, you'll see that I spoke about that 2025 will be a year where we'll have rare earths are going to be top of the agenda, which has brought the big issues about Greenland, because that is a potential rare earth place that could be mined, and also Ukraine. Let's do a peace deal, but let's have your rare earth metals. And also China now thinking, hey, we've got you, because we've got the biggest mining facility for these things in the world, and you ain't got it, mate. So we're going to call the shots on these tariffs. So Trump is in a very difficult corner now with all this, and so is Musk, actually, because it's going to be very difficult to run these electric vehicles if you haven't got easy resources for the batteries and the software and all those other weird bits of stuff that go into the electronics of things that use elements that most of us don't even know the names of. I certainly don't. So what's going to happen with all this? Right. Okay. First thing I predict about this is it will cool off. It will cool off in the next few days, I feel. It's not going to cool off in the press, because this is absolute fodder for the press. They're going to love some of the things that have been said here. So it's going to force a political break between Musk and Trump. Well, it's happened, hasn't it? But it's going to force a kind of permanent political break between them. You won't be seeing Musk talking at Trump rallies again, for example. And I suppose that's pretty obvious from what we're seeing in the press. But it raises more questions, of course. And the big one is, again, what I said about, which I was talking about Epstein, and and people were making comments on my saying, "Don't, you're saying the wrong word, Epstein. Epstein's dead." I was getting a bit muddled when I was talking because I was in a kind of a bit of a free flow of predictions at that point. But it was like I felt like the spirit world trying to interrupt me almost and pop things into my head. I sometimes find my words get all muddled when I'm talking. That's why I like to do a free flow like this and when I speak to you. But what's on the Epstein list, right? And what is it with Musk now with Trump on that? Though it was a bit like, ha, 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 I've got you. You know, I've mentioned, I'll put my finger in the biggest sore there, which is the Epstein files. Now it's going to raise huge questions, and of course there are going to be calls for the Epstein files to be a bit more revealed, I suppose. But I feel that Trump won't be criminally implicated ultimately. He'll be on lists. Epstein mixed with everybody in power and tried his hardest to keep a compromising information on everybody. But, you know, I don't think they've actually got anything on Trump. And I don't feel there's anything illegal there. You know, the big question is the underage girls, is the child abuse involved in any of this? No, I don't feel that. In fact, I feel that the Democrats are more on the list than the Republicans, and it's been in everybody's interest to keep quiet. But here we go. Musk has now pulled the rabbit out the hat, and it means multiple people may need to be investigated. So I do feel that's going to be huge in the coming months, and I did say that in 2024 that it's going to be one of the big issues, and it seems like it's popped up now, doesn't it? And we got all the business with Harvey Weinstein, and we've got the Diddy stuff and all the rest of it. Goodness knows we're going to see some scandals coming up in the coming months, the next 6 months of this year. So further, and I'll go into that in much more detail in other videos, but I wanted to just respond to what's been happening in the news at the moment with this one. Will Trump and Musk ever get back together again? I think in the long term they will, because they are more interested in their projects than they are in the people involved in the projects. Their friendship is a strange sort of friendship. It's more common goals, and they still have common goals in mind that will be rebuilt, I feel, in due course. And again, I do sense that Trump will work with Musk with the Mars project. This is going to be something that will calm Musk down quite a lot. It's as if, oh, I can't have my cars, but my big dream in life is to have the trip to Mars. And I feel that something's going to happen with that. And also that there will be some thing that I spoke about last year again, talking about that there will be some kind of cyber city built, and Musk is going to be very involved in that. In fact, we're going to see a massive shift in the way things are happening in America. California is going to crumble in many ways. It could also literally crumble from an earthquake, which I feel is not that far away, you know. But also in terms of its economy, I see Hollywood becoming just a museum piece in the future, and all of the industries moving to Florida for the entertainment industries. And I sense there'll be a big announcement soon from one of the huge networks about opening in Florida. Maybe it's somebody like Netflix or something opening a huge great studio there, or one of the big studios opening there. There's a big shift in power. I'm going off, but I'm kind of in a bit of a free flow with my predictions here with this. And also I see exactly the same thing happening with Meon Valley. All that moving, a large part of that moving to places like Texas and that. with the development of these new specially made new cyber type of cities, of which Musk is very much involved in. It's industrial rather than for people, but it's like a huge industrial complex, all linked together by the sort of futuristic connections, a bit like Blade Runner, Dreams of Electric Sheep. You know, it is something very big that that Musk will still be involved in. So it's not the end of Musk. It's not the end of the Musk-Trump symbiosis. I do feel there's going to be some more of that built again, but it's going to take time. And the Epstein thing, that is a Pandora's box, and Musk should not have mentioned it, because it's going to create huge difficulties for the American presidency as we move forward, more by implication than what was really in it. So it will be opened up, but I think you will find it is not quite as damning as is suggested by the tweets that Musk has put up. But there's something else that I feel I must also add here, because America's enemies are watching this. They're looking at it and thinking, haha, here is an opportunity. What if we were to pop off Musk? And I get a feeling, I'm sensing there's something's going to happen to Elon Musk. There could be an attempt on his life, and I feel it could be soon. But it won't be the American hidden state that's doing this, the deep state. It could be, I feel, some foreign power getting involved, Russia or China, or somebody that would have interest in seeing the downfall of America. So watch out for that one in the future. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Lots of food for thought. We'll explore some of these in future episodes. So thank you again for joining me here on Coffee with Craig. If you're here for the first time, again, don't forget to subscribe. And if you love the channel, do help the channel by supporting it. I do put extra bits and pieces on my Patreon pages and the YouTube pages, but even just becoming a member will help the channel quite a lot. You know, just join it to help keep the channel going. It supports the channel and allows you to make extra videos like this one today. All right, see you again soon. Bye for now. If you look back at my earlier predictions, and in particular the predictions I made on the newspaper, the Sun's website, I did actually say on there, the actual words were, there will be a flu epidemic linked to bioterrorism. And my thoughts are that Liz Truss will make it to the final, be the next PM. I think she will actually have a final battle between her and Rishi Sunak. We've not seen the full end of Boris Johnson either, I tell you. But Rishi Sunak actually will eventually, I feel, be the next leader of the Conservatives. So I think there's going to be a few conflicts that Britain's going to be drawn into, including I think Russia is going to take some moves against Ukraine. I think she will make it past her platinum jubilee, which comes up this year. But I think after that, we'll see a sudden and quick deterioration in the Queen's health. And I think we might lose the Queen towards the end of 2022. There's going to be a huge backlash from over the Netflix programs and screening, because I feel it comes out at a bad time. Charles will come to become King Charles, but his reign, I feel, will be short. I said that Prince Charles would be hit by an egg, And of course, there it is, all in the press today. Marvelous person she is. She does something extraordinary that could even put her life a little bit at risk with the way she did this. Okay. Is there something also there that's not being spoken about fully? Did they also discover something with Kate that wasn't quite right? A huge swarm of people knocking the doors of Europe and America. And I feel that Ukraine conflict is going to be a kind of a grinding conflict that goes on and on. I also feel that there's something going to happen in the Middle East as well. I feel as if there's going to be a sudden and unexpected thing happen in the Middle East. So I feel they're going to take it into their own hands, and I feel we're going to get a strike from Israel. This is going to be one of the significant things in 2023. I've said it before and I say it again. I feel Israel, with the help from the USA, will strike the Iranian nuclear facilities. I said that there would be an earthquake that would shake New York. At this time, I've been sensing that for a while that there's going to be a big earthquake of some sort. And this could well come up during April period. I'm seeing a bridge collapsing, actually the whole infrastructure of it going. I predict something very dark happens to President Joe Biden. He's been pulled from power, sacked, as it were, and quite close to the election time. But I kind of sense it's more to do with illness, perhaps, senility, and people stopping him because of that. So it could even be that a new candidate will run for the presidential nominee. I predict that Trump will win the November 2024 election. And I feel very strongly that the black vote is going to move towards Trump. See him as a sort of a bit of a cool guy. I can't see Trump being put in jail despite what they're throwing at him. I can't see a jail sentence with him. But I get the feeling one of the candidates has an attempt on the candidate's life. Could there have been a plan to assassinate either him or Trump, perhaps? There's going to be an assassination attempt on Trump, I think. That will fail, but he might maybe get wounded or something like that. A hit or attack on our airplanes, on passenger flights or even freight flights. Because I also had at the similar time, I was also seeing this image of helicopters on fire as well. I seem to see like the west of America on fire and the east of America underwater, huge winds. And I actually saw, just like we had a major problem here in the UK where a tower block went up on fire, I see a tower block deserted.